We are joined right out of the gate here tonight on the phone by the Executive Vice President and General Manager at Atlanta Motor Speedway, Brandon Hutchison. Brandon, welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great tonight. I really am. I'm honored to be on with you this evening.
Absolutely. Really appreciate having you on. Of course, I caught you race weekend morning, Sunday morning, outside the Media Center before the Ambetter 400, and just we'll talk about it, but what an incredible show and an incredible weekend that you guys at Atlanta Motor Speedway put on. And that's why we've got you on tonight, because I know it's been a couple of weeks. You've had some time to debrief and relax, hopefully a little bit, before getting ready for the June weekend you've got coming up. But first and foremost, Brandon, tell us how you caught the racing bug.
Well, first and foremost, I'm so glad that we ran into each other race weekend. I'm glad that we got to meet face to face, and it led to me being on with you and your listeners this evening. So that was pretty cool that we crossed paths race weekend. I'm glad you chose to come down and see us. You know, we try to be the most hospitable track on the NASCAR circuit, so hopefully you will want to come back really, really soon. You know, I've been a fan of sports all my life, you know, just everything. I always wanted to watch sports. I always wanted to play sports. And if you would have caught high school Brandon, he probably would have told you he was going to be a professional athlete at some point. But, you know, days catch up with you, and at some point you realize you're not going to be a professional athlete. And I quickly turned to wanting to work in professional sports. And being a racing fan, I lucked into an internship at Atlanta Motor Speedway my last quarter of school at Georgia Southern University, and I've been there ever since. That was 30 years ago. I did my internship in the PR department and have kind of stuck on like glue and haven't left.
You know, we've spoken with one of your good friends on the show up here every race weekend leading into the New Hampshire race, but talk to us, you know, you think of some great names that have been general managers at the racetrack. Eddie down in Texas, of course, who passed away a couple of years ago. But tell us a little bit about your role leading into, whether it just be race weekend or, you know, as the executive vice president and general manager at an SMI track. Tell us a little bit, you know, the listeners who might not be familiar, what you do day to day.
You know, that's a great question. I wear many different hats throughout the year. It just depends on which day it is, right? But the thing that I try to focus on more than anything else is the team, the people. I try to support the group that puts on the fantastic entertainment events at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And, you know, if I can keep them happy and keep their families fed, then, you know, things pretty well tend to work out. And so I try to just focus on the team and make sure they have the resources they need to get their job done. And I try to make sure that we have an environment that is conducive to fun. We produce live entertainment, so I want the employees to have fun. And we just try to be laid back. But, you know, it's really trying to make sure that the Speedway's day-to-day operations continue to flow, and that can be anything from racetrack operations to, we've got 46 condominiums on the property, so working with the Condo Owners Association, and I know your listeners know how fun that can be. And just we've got a massive rental portfolio through our corporate sales department, so we're getting ready for Feld Entertainment's Monster Jam right now. As soon as Monster Jam leaves, we'll put down about 30 acres of sod, and we'll go right into Henry County High School graduations as we approach Memorial Day. And as you know, before you know it, we'll be NASCAR racing again. So I just try to make sure that the day-to-day operations at the Speedway continue to flow and that we're able to be good pillars of the community while we try to produce first-in-class entertainment events for the fans that choose to come and see us.
So over the years, of course, yesterday was the anniversary of Kevin Harvick's triumphant 2001 win shortly after Dale Earnhardt passed away. Atlanta Motor Speedway has always put on just an incredible show. And most recently, you guys reconfigured the track, and I didn't think the racing could get better than what we've seen over the years, but it really has. Talk to the listeners a little bit about what went into the reconfiguration and the racing we've seen now the last 2 years.
You talk about Kevin Harvick taking that checkered flag. That's probably one of, if not the most emotional checkered flag in my 30-year history at Atlanta Motor Speedway. What a cool day that was for Kevin Harvick and the crew of the Richard Childress 3-car. I'll tell you, it's the changes have completely changed the racing at Atlanta Motor Speedway. You talk about that victory, and there were so many others that were some of the closest in NASCAR history. We've been running NASCAR races since 1965, so we've got a lot of history to tell at Atlanta Motor Speedway. But I can tell you this, since 2022, when we increased the banking from 24 to 28 degrees, we have not seen any more exciting racing at Atlanta Motor Speedway than we have at any other time in its history. It's been quite amazing to see the pack-style, super speedway-style racing that it has created. And as you know, we've had the closest three-wide finish in NASCAR history a year ago during the Ambetter Health 400 race weekend. And were it not for a final lap caution, we might have had an even closer three-wide finish as Christopher Bell took the checkered flag. So, it's really changed the racing at Atlanta Motor Speedway. If you have not seen a race at Atlanta, you owe it to yourself to come and see us if you're a NASCAR fan.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about the Ambetter 400 race weekend. For a northerner like me, it was a little chilly. For you guys down there, I can only imagine the cold night weather leading into that race weekend. How'd you guys stay warm down there?
It was cold, man. I'll tell you, on Thursday night, it was 20 degrees with a real field temperature of about 8. And when you're standing outside, and I don't care where you're from, if you have to stand outside in cold weather, it's just not fun unless you're packed up to go skiing and you really don't get that cool. But we fared quite well. The sun came out as the weekend approached, and while the temperatures were a little bit cooler, we were very thankful that the sun was shining and that the fans that had chosen and made plans to come to Atlanta Motor Speedway were able to do it. So, we got that February date. We know when you're in February in Atlanta, it can be a little bit cool, but it can also be 75, 77 degrees, and we've been fortunate to see that a few years as well. And it is what it is. We do our very best, no matter what, to make sure that when cars aren't on track, there's entertainment around the facility for our fans. And that's what we did. And as you saw, man, it was a big time. You
mentioned the entertainment for the fans. I was just blown away by the hospitality that you guys put on for the fans. Of course, starting, I believe it was Friday night with the Thor Camper Appreciation Night party. Of course, Jose Castillo works for a lot of the SMI tracks out there hosting, had Noah Gregson, Michael McDowell out there. What I thought was just so cool was, of course, Ryan Blaney out there rolling burritos and free Busch Light beers. Talk to us about the hospitality side of things for the fans this past Ambetter 400 race weekend.
Well, it's an event weekend. It's not just an event, right? So we try to do it better than any other professional sports league, and we want to make sure, again, that if you choose to come to Atlanta Motor Speedway, you get as much bang for your buck and then maybe a little bit more than you anticipated. People work hard for their money, and we want to make sure if they choose to spend it with us that they have a good time. Did you ever think you would come from the Northeast and see Sea Lions at Atlanta Motor Speedway, the Thor Camper Appreciation Party, the party in the Peach Pit on Saturday night, the laps for charity giving fans an opportunity to get their car on the high banks of Atlanta Motor Speedway, the free fan zone throughout the entire weekend, a kids zone within the fan zone. It's a fun thing to be a part of, and while it can be very, very cool watching it at home on your couch, I certainly can grab on to that argument every now and again. It is not anything like being there in person and getting to experience. And listen, we make sure kids are absolutely free on Saturday at all Speedway Motorsports tracks. Kids are only $10 on Sunday. So, if you're not able to come down to Atlanta Motor Speedway, maybe you can go to New Hampshire Motor Speedway and check out Dave McGrath and his crew. If you saw it at Atlanta, I can promise you all of our Speedway Motorsports tracks are paying attention to what we do and trying to do it a little bit better in our neck of the woods.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the racing, too. Of course, all three big series in town there that weekend. Some really good racing, starting with the trucks. Kyle Busch, a photo finish there. Thoughts on the overall weekend of racing we saw on the track at Atlanta Motor Speedway?
The 11th year of the doubleheader on Saturday, the Freight Racing 208 Craftsman Truck Series race and the Bennett Transportation and Logistics 250 Xfinity Series race is a fan favorite. Again, it's the 11th time that we've done it. We do it like that because the fans love it. You can see two races in one day, two completely different races in one day on the most exciting track in NASCAR. And, you know, it's really cool to see Austin Hill in the Xfinity race get his fifth win in 7 tries. He grew up racing on our quarter mile, so we've known him since he was 8 years old, and that's always very, very special. Of course, when Kyle Busch gets behind the wheel of his truck, you're almost able to slot him in as the winner. He's just so darn good and has so much experience. And then, of course, Sunday was just nothing short of amazing. I guess maybe a tiny bit short of amazing because the caution flag flew on the white flag lap, but we'd rather keep those drivers safe, and we had 399.5 miles of 2-3-wide racing, pack-style racing on a 1.5-mile track. If your viewers haven't seen Atlanta, they've probably seen Daytona, they've probably seen Talladega. Think of that, only a mile shorter track. You don't have any opportunity to rest. You don't have any opportunity to really relax, and it's edge-of-the-seat excitement for our fans.
So I went to the Peach Pit party there for the first time. Now, you know, each track, like we've said, each SMI track has that different thing that draws people. Tell us the backstory of the Peach Pit and how that got built, when it got built.
Well, you know, again, it's all about the off-track entertainment for our fans. It's what we do. We try to be new, special, and different every time fans come to Atlanta Motor Speedway. And we had built the Peach Park, which is right next to the Peach Pit, as an area for our infield campers to be able to go and walk. We made a little quarter-mile track, and we put some swings up, and we thought maybe the drivers would come with their families. And they do actually go out to the Peach Park. If you're on the infield at Atlanta Motor Speedway, you never know who you'll run into. I ran into Joey Logano on Saturday at Peach Park. But next to it was a parking lot. We would use it for different things. And after one race, my son, actually, at the time was probably, 16, 17, 18 years old. And he said, "Hey, Dad, what you ought to do is you ought to call that place the Peach Pit." And he was born in 2003, so he's never seen Saved by the Bell. So it took me right back to my childhood. But I said, hey, that's not a bad idea. We can call it the Peach Pit. It's kind of themed for the state of Georgia, and we can throw a party. So we brought in mechanical bulls, laser light shows, cornhole boards, movable bar, live entertainment, massive fireworks show. Just another way for us to say thanks to the fans for choosing to come out, and hopefully they're having a big time while they're doing it.
So up here we have Loudon the Lobster, of course, a New England staple when the winner of the New Hampshire race weekend collects their trophy. You guys have a pretty cool trophy as well, in the sense of the trophy and Georgia Peaches, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's kind of what Georgia is known for, right? The Georgia peach. If you think about the state of Georgia, it probably doesn't take you too long before you think of peaches. But we wanted to have an award that was unique to our track, unique to our region of the country, and we felt like the Georgia peach was the best possible way to do it. It was either that or the peanut. So we went with the peach, and it's worked out pretty cool. It's fun to be able to, we also bring items from the state of Georgia into our concession stands. We try to bring VIPs from the state of Georgia to the pre-race ceremonies and get them on the fan stage and the fan zone throughout race weekend to just give it another little feel of Georgia hospitality. And for those that are from Georgia, they get to see the the celebrities that they may hear of on a regular basis.
Yeah, quite a few celebrities there this past race weekend. Let's quickly look ahead to the Quaker State 400. Of course, Dale Jr. said it. If I'm telling anybody to go to a race, I'm telling them to go to Atlanta. Dale Jr. will be there on the call in the end of June. You've got the Quaker State night race. Talk to us about what fans can expect coming up here in just a couple of months.
Well, the Quaker State 400 available at Walmart is going to be Saturday night, June 28th. You heard me right. It's not Sunday night. It is a Saturday night race. The Focused Health 250 is the Xfinity race on Friday night, June 27th. Our fans have spoken loud and clear that they want night racing back at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We worked real hard to try to make that a Saturday night race. So the kids are out of school. You can travel back home on Sunday if you need to. So just another way we're trying to think of our fans. It's something that's very important to us at Speedway Motorsports. And hey, the Quaker State 400 available at Walmart is going to be more of what you saw in February, but it's going to be warm temperatures. It's going to be under the lights. It's going to be the middle of summer. It's only like 108 days away, so you better go to AtlantaMotorSpeedway.com and find a price point that works well for you and your family and come down and see us.
Excellent. We have been speaking with Executive Vice President and General Manager of Atlanta Motor Speedway, Brandon Hutchison, here to kick off the evening on Miles on Motorsports presented by Chuck Auto Parts. Don't be a stranger. I won't be a stranger. I'm already starting to plan on coming back next February for the Ambetter 400 in 2026. What a blast. Really appreciate it, Brandon, and hope to talk to you soon.
Well, Miles, you're part of the family now, so you got to come and see us more than once a year, okay? And next time you talk to Mr. McGrath, tell him that Brandon Hutchison from Atlanta said, hey, he's a great buddy of mine. Every time we go out of town, we get together, and he's one of my favorite Speedway Motorsports GMs. So y'all are in good hands up there with him in the Northeast. Hopefully you'll go by New Hampshire Motor Speedway, nhms.com, see them. But if you get down south, come to Atlanta Motor Speedway. We'd love to see you.